Hey mates, good morning. Part 2 today. So, I'm still at the same spot as I was from my last video, but this time I want to talk a bit more about, what has happened to marshes over the years and why they're still so important for us. Not just for the fellow homies, but also for people, too. So for those of you, as I mentioned, we're looking at basically a tidal marsh. But there's other types of marshes too. You've got a freshwater marsh, which great example of a freshwater marsh is the Everglades. The Everglades is considered to be one of the largest freshwater marshes in the world. What does that tell you? In the world? No, the world is a pretty big place. And it's in Florida. And there's practically no other ecosystem like it. But then you've also got inland marshes. Some examples of inland freshwater marshes could be maybe like going up to Chesapeake Bay and you go a bit further inland, based in Maryland. But those are strictly saltwater. But unlike this type of marsh, it has a bit of brackish waters. So there's a little bit of salt, there's a little bit of fresh water too. That's what brackish water means. It's basically describing a mixture. But what's neat is the further inland you go, the more fresh water there's going to be. So in a sense, what these marshes do is they can help dilute the salt water that is nearby. So that makes the salinity of the water slightly less than what it originally was. Now, that's why only a handful of particular plants and species of them can survive in these types of environments, because some plants do not have any salt tolerance whatsoever. So it narrows down how many plants you'll actually see out here. Oh, wow. Whoa. Sorry, you guys, I got a little distracted. I heard that little call up there. Dang, I wish I could find it. That was cool, by the way. Fellow homies appreciating what I'm doing right now. But carrying on from what I was saying, they essentially act as a filter, and they can also filter out pollutants too that may be in the water. Whether it be nitrogen or phosphorus, those types of nutrients that really exacerbate our harmful algal blooms, such as the red tide down here. But there are many types of harmful algal blooms. Red tide is just one of many. And in a sense, too, these types of marshes really act as a buffer, too, between the inland and the coast. So they kind of serve the same purpose as that of the mangroves that you see out in the distance, as I mentioned a few days ago. But with me mentioning that, here's the thing. Since Florida, for instance, has experienced rapid development within a matter of a few decades, there's had to be a lot of drastic environmental changes so that more people could move down here. And unfortunately, there has to be a price paid for that. And one of those prices paid is to basically eradicate this type of habitat, take it down, drain these marshes, so that buildings and agriculture is possible. But with doing that, there's another price to be paid too in the long term. So without marshes being present, it actually allows something called saltwater intrusion. Now, some of you may have heard about this issue quite recently. Florida is very well known to have a very high water table. Essentially, water table basically describes the boundary where you'll find the groundwater underneath my feet. But with Florida's low elevation, the water table is probably, I mean, depending on where I am, it could be only 10 feet below from where I'm standing. So that's the thing. When these types of habitats are eliminated and more salt water from the bay or even the ocean has its way of coming in even further, there is potential for saltwater intrusion to happen. And that's not good for us, because if we drink too much salt water, we can get sick. Whether it be vomiting, diarrhea, you name it. Like, we can't drink salt water, unfortunately. We can't filter it in our body. Our body is not capable of such things. But since we're not capable of doing that, that's why we oftentimes rely more on freshwater, whether it be for hygiene, bathing, and drinking too. And that is the one resource that we all have in common that we need, is water. Because without water, we will not survive. It's oftentimes believed you can go a week without water, maybe even less than that, and you will not survive. Because primarily our body is made up 70% of water. And I don't find that ironic. I don't find that a coincidence, too, that the earth is primarily composed 70% of water. It's like, in a sense, we really are nature. We're still connected, even though many of us have perhaps lost it. So I think it's really a matter of triggering that connection once again. But that is an issue that has been happening quite lately. Not only that, with saltwater intrusion, but there's potential for more pollutants to be present in the soil and even making their way into the bay and even the Gulf. So since there's really no buffer, those excess nutrients have less resistance, and it causes more potential for runoff, whether it be from agriculture or even just humans. And thus, that creates that issue of the harmful algal blooms. And that's the thing with algal blooms is, yes, they are a natural event, but when they have more than what they need, you'll start reproducing quite excessively and start producing toxins too, as sort of like a defense mechanism. So, unfortunately, too much of a good thing can actually be a bad thing. But I have mentioned about the red tide in a whole separate video. So if you want to look along my videos that I have produced, I have 2 videos that are made on that subject. But you know what, though? Despite all that has been happening, we still can't lose hope. Because we still have our next generation to educate. So it's never too late. And we can't lose hope. Never. That's not part of my... Quitting is not part of my identity. I don't want it to be. It's not what I do. And we can't. And that's why, that's one of the reasons why I make these videos. Is to really raise that type of awareness that is so important. Because it could go one or two ways. So, just, take the time to go for a hike today and just really appreciate what the Cedar Point Environmental Park hosts. Because this is like one of the only remaining undeveloped parts of basically Charlotte County. But it's not the only one. It's one of. But also, you guys, I'm thinking of setting up a new system, too. So I've noticed that, of course, I've been making videos for free for a long time. But I want to start a new system for you guys. I want to start setting up like a donation system. So like, let's say some videos I make during the week, I could maybe charge a donation for, say, $4. Now it'll kind of be like a 50-50 raffle. So like, $2 will go to me, because that's how it is down here. You still have to make money, which I am. But it wouldn't hurt to make some money off of these videos either, because they put quite a bit of work into them. And it's only $4. I mean, it's not really that much. And the other half, 50%, I'll have to think of where I want to provide those funds to. But I think I want to start providing it to the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center, which is the nonprofit organization that I've discussed quite recently. So, I just think it would be a neat system, because it would also help a local nonprofit too, with environmental education. And it would allow me to be kind of like a side gig of making videos and getting some money off of it. But don't feel forced to either. But I just hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And enjoy your Sunday. Try going out for a hike. And once again, journey on a journey is outwards. Take care, folks. And I'll be sure to also provide like a Venmo and a PayPal link too. Just want to see how it goes. Test the waters, so to speak. All right, you guys. Take care. Peace out. See ya.